What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Demi Dad's Saturday Sit Down. I apologize. I've been MIA for I don't know, like 4 weeks, about almost a month. So I apologize. Let's turn my volume down just a little bit. Here you go. I'm sorry. I got sick. I didn't. It wasn't COVID, but I did get sick for a little bit, for about a couple weeks, on and off, and then life happened, and so I've just been MIA. MIA. I haven't, made a podcast. So anyway, we are back, and I'm declaring this as like the official launch. The first 3 episodes were a test, and I passed the test. I'm gonna raise you up. You raise me up. Okay, then push that in and get a little snugglier. All right. So what's up, guys? I already said what's up, guys. I'm gonna start doing some shorter podcasts because I'm gonna test the shorter podcast, maybe about 15, 20 minutes, and see how that goes before we start going to 30 to 40 minutes to an hour. Once people kind of get to know me and kind of, I get more interaction with you guys. I have got a lot of interaction from you guys this last week, so that's exciting. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing the shorter sets here, probably about 15 minutes if I can get myself to stop talking. But hey, welcome to the new set. Welcome. We have, it's like 30 degrees in here, so I'm going to pull my sleeves down probably in a little bit because it is chilly. But yeah, so welcome. This is going to be kind of the new setup from now on going forward. We also have a lot of other things in the works that you'll see hopefully next week. A lot of cool stuff. So I'm very excited about that. But we're just going to dive into kind of today's subject, which is, if you read the thumbnail or saw the thumbnail or read the title, or you're on Spotify, you read the title or the description, we're going to kind of dive in, and I'm going to be real with you guys, because when I started this podcast, I told myself that I wouldn't do this podcast if I wasn't 100% real and 100% honest with you guys. So so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to kind of talk about some of my dark moments and kind of how I found purpose and peace through those. But let's just dive in. Literally the darkest moment of the night is right before it dawns, right before the sun sets, or the sun rises. So when relating that to life, sometimes when you're in your darkest moments, you're in the hardest times, the crappiest things you could think of are happening. That's when you have to push a little bit deeper. You have to go a little bit harder. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the purpose of your life. You have to remember the important things, the things that you love, the people in your lives that you love, the things that get you through the day. That's when you really just got to cling on to those things even more. Because if you don't, if you give up and you, I've had multiple friends commit suicide, and if you do that, you're literally running away from your victories. You're running away from those next moments in your life that are gonna really define who you are, and you're gonna see accomplishment and victory through making it through that, and it's going to make you stronger. So although it's the hardest times of your life, it's the most important and critical, because that is, if you just go a little bit farther, a little bit deeper, a little bit harder, and pull through that moment and bring yourself out of it, it's going to put you in a better spot mentally, physically. It's like building muscle. You literally can't build like biceps unless if you work your arms so hard that they physically tear. Your muscle fiber, your muscle tissue tear so that they can be filled up with blood. It's the same way with us. We have to push ourselves to the point where we're broken. The air just kicked on. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna be hopefully switching to a different mic. I'm testing this one out. So if it's still a bit too live in the room, I apologize. But we're gonna be testing some microphones out and hopefully get the right fit. But you push yourself so hard, and that you're so broken to the point where you have to grow, where there's no option but to grow and become stronger. You have to create something from your pain. Like Eric Thomas says, you're already crying, you're already hurt, you're already broken. Get something from it. Move to that next step. Push yourself a little bit more, and see beauty. If you don't live through the night, the darkest part of the night, you won't see the beautiful sunrise. You won't see the beauty that God has created in the next day. You won't see things that other people won't see, because they're not, like, someone who's not going through the hardest time isn't going to see the beauty on the other side of your struggle. But if you give up, you're not going to see it either. And for me, in my darkest moments, if I gave up, which, I mean, I've wanted to before, but if I had given up, I wouldn't be making this podcast. For dang sure, I wouldn't be here making this podcast. And like I said in past episodes, if this podcast helps one person, it was so worth it. Me pushing through the hardest times of my life are worth it if I can help one person. If you're not broken, you can't be filled up with the beauty that comes from being broken. And if you can't be filled up by that beauty, you can't overflow. You have to, if there's a bowl, if you have a bowl and there's a plate on top, or let's just say, let's say you have a ball, like a glass ball, and you pour a cup of water over this glass ball, the water's going to go nowhere. But if there's a crack, anything that maybe not a chip out of it, but even just the smallest crack out of that ball, if you pour water on it, some water is going to get in, and it's going to eventually start to fill up that ball. And once you're filled, you can then be overflowed. You can then overflow and onto others. And so I relate that to God's grace. You know, the church is a hospital for the broken. It's not a museum for the perfect. And if you're living your life perfect, and you're not broken, you're not allowing yourself to be filled. I truly believe that broken people lead broken people every day. And once you're broken enough and you're filled with the grace of God, then you can overflow and pour that on to others. You can share that grace and that love of Christ. Those darkest moments, you have to live in that moment. I've said on past weeks where I just want to numb myself and I want to not think about anything. Sometimes you have to let yourself feel. You have to feel that pain, because you have to live in that moment in order to live through that moment. I mean, there's times in college when, I mean, I've never been suicidal per se, but I mean, I've had thoughts of like, man, this is a lot. I can't handle this. This is a lot going on. I need something to kind of take this away. And so, I mean, there's been times, I mean, recently, not super recently, but in recent memory, where I've just had a day that has just beaten me up so much that I've opened up my phone and Googled suicide prevention and had the phone number on my phone for hours and just stared at it. Just stared at it. And even just having that phone number up helped me. I've never called it. I'm sure there's great people, to talk to. If you need to call that number, dude, call it. Call that number. But even just having that on my phone and open where I can see it helped. Like I said, I've never been like suicidal to the point of I'm going to kill myself, but I've definitely had thoughts of, I wish I didn't have to feel this or go through this, and I don't like it. And if I could just stop it, I would. But I know that if I don't live through those moments, then I can't talk to you guys. I can't help you guys. I can't share what I've learned. So by the grace of God, I'm still here, and I'm very thankful. I love my family. I love my life. I know it doesn't seem like it because I'm on this podcast sharing about the darkest moments and my struggles with anxiety and depression, but I freaking love my life. I've got a wonderful son, Leland. He's 2.5. He'll be 3 in May. Beautiful, beautiful wife, Jordan, who's like 30 weeks pregnant. So we've got another baby on the way in the next couple months. We don't know what gender it's going to be, so we're hoping for a girl, but either way, as long as it's healthy, which it is so far, then we are thankful. But yeah, coming from my life, I mean, my life has not been easy. I didn't meet my biological father till I was in my 20s. I think I was like 23, 24 years old. He popped up out of nowhere. He had abandoned us when I was a kid. And then my adopted dad, who my mom married when I was 7 or 8, I think I was like 8 years old. He passed away in 2000 from a heart attack / internal bleeding in the brain. And it was a blood thinner. From my knowledge, I don't know all the details, but this is from what I remember. The doctors had given him a blood thinner that he didn't need because he had internal bleeding in the brain. And I don't know if they didn't know it or what, but he had to go into a medically induced coma. And he passed away. And it was weird because one minute I'm sitting in the hospital bed with him. We're watching a Mariners game or whatever sports was on TV. And then the next minute, I'm being led into his hospital room to say goodbye to him. And I'll never forget that day. I remember sprinting out of that hospital room and running as far as I could in that hospital. I don't know where, I don't know how far I ran, but I remembered I ended up in the men's restroom somewhere in that hospital. When I think back to it, it looked more like an airport. I don't know why. I picture an airport bathroom in my head, but it was a hospital. And you know how sometimes the bathrooms have like you can walk in and then you kind of curve around before you go into the bathroom. That way you can't see directly into the bathroom from the outside. It was like that, and I was in one of the little turns. And I just sat there and cried and screamed. I don't know how long I was there, but I was a little kid. I just said goodbye to my dad. I mean, come on. But I remember my brother Keone coming, finding me and sitting with me and talking to me and telling me that we're going to get through it and we're going to be there for each other and it's going to be okay, stuff like that. And I think back to that all the time because we have to believe that it's going to be okay, no matter how hard it is. No matter what we're feeling in the moment, there's truth in the knowledge of it's eventually going to be okay. Even if that's a year from now, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, eventually it's not going to hurt as bad. I mean, in college, if I would have just ended it all, if I would have, I mean, there's so much beauty in life, you guys. There's so much beauty in everything. You just literally just breathe. Take a breath. Look outside. I mean, it's snowing right now. We just got a massive snow here in Boise. It'll probably be gone tomorrow, but there's so much beauty, and if you don't take the time to see it, you're really missing out. I've got some tips. I'm already going long. I'm at like 17 minutes, or probably more like 14 minutes. But one thing that I've done recently, like I said, I've got some tips for you. One thing I've done recently is reintroduce myself to myself. When you see a friend, like at a store from high school you haven't seen for about 10 years, and you see them in passing, you say, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Nice to see you. What's up? How's the kids? Blah, 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 whatever it is. And then you leave that store. You're going to remember and be flooded with memories of this person from when you knew them back then. But if you, the next week, go down and sit down and have coffee with them, you may realize that this is a totally different person than you remember, because experiences and life changes us and we change over time. And that's something that we don't always recognize in ourselves. We view the world through the eyes of someone that we were back then, that we were in high school, because we remember those feelings that we had at that moment. So we view ourselves in future self and past self. We never really see ourselves in present self. And I can dive into that at a later time, but reintroduce yourself to yourself. Who is Lonnie? What does he enjoy? What does he not enjoy? What drains him? What gives him energy? And take some time to really get to know yourself, because I guarantee you've changed. Even if it's just been a couple weeks, you've changed. So I truly find value in that, because if you're seeing yourself through the eyes of someone you used to be, or not seeing yourself, seeing life through the eyes of someone you used to be, you're missing out on what the current you is experiencing. Look at the people in your life, the people you love, the people who love you, because there's people who love you. There's people you love, and they love you just as much, if not more. You are valued, you are worth it, you are important, and you are needed. I guarantee that 100%. One thing that keeps me going is I'm going to show my wife a return on her investment. It's another Eric Thomas quote. Is that she invested in me. She married me when I'm a broken man. I mean, she didn't know a lot of my stuff when we got married. She knew most of it, but not all of it, because it continues to change and evolve. And, I didn't know her 100%. I still don't know her 100%. And in 10 years, she's going to be different too. And we're still going to be constantly learning and growing together. That's the whole point of marriage. But she invested in me when I didn't deserve it. So one thing that keeps me going is I'm going to show her that she's going to get a return on her investment. That she believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. She still does. I still don't believe in myself. But she believes in me, and she loves me, and she's going to get a return on her investment. I'm going to be the best that I can be. You can't get to the win without the losses. It's another random point I'm going to make in this podcast today, is that you have to allow yourself to lose, and you have to almost learn to enjoy it, because you know that you're going to become better from it. Steph Curry's made about 450 billion three-point shots. But he's probably made 50 times that misses. That sentence, that sentence didn't make sense at all. Eric, can you cut that out and fix it? I'm gonna start again. Steph Curry or Michael Jordan, he got kicked out of, he got cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey was told she was never going to be able to be a personality on TV because her personality just didn't fit that of a celebrity talk show personality. You have to take your losses in order to get your wins. You almost have to look forward to the losses and enjoy them and live in them because you know that something great's going to come from them. Another thing before I go on too long, if you have to get rid of not TikTok, if you have to get rid of social media, get rid of social media. I'm on TikTok a lot. That's why. But if you have to get rid of social media, get rid of social media. It is a disease sometimes. And now speaking of TikTok, you've got these 14, 15, 16, however old kids on there who are literally being told by the TikTok algorithm that they're not worth it and to get more than 10, 15, 20 views. But if you're beautiful or you're handsome or you're extremely talented or you're funny or you spend hours and hours editing a TikTok, if you have that it factor, then you'll get millions of views like that. I had a TikTok the other day get 47,000 views. I didn't even do anything on it. And it's that give and take where we're going to make you feel important, but then we're going to make you feel like trash. I mean, we live in a society where we're driven by the likes, the comments, the feedback. We're wired that way now, unfortunately, to work off of that. And it's a spreading disease, and it's not good. If you need to get off social media, do it. There's nothing. There's so much more you can gain from not having it than you can from having it. Because like I said, there's people. I mean, we're constantly being told we're not pretty enough, we're not handsome enough, we're not talented enough. And then you add a global pandemic on top of that, and no wonder suicide rates are so high. No wonder, what is it? I'm reading these stats right here. Nearly 800,000 people die by suicide in the world each year. Don't fact check me. I don't know how true that is, but I believe it. That's roughly one death every 40 seconds, and suicide is the second leading cause of death in the world for those aged 15 to 24 years. I mean, you're still figuring out who you are in those years. You don't know. I don't know. I'm 30. I don't know who I am. I'm still figuring out every single day. We need to take the times where we're not struggling with anxiety and depression or whatever you're struggling with, to make the most out of those days and see the beauty and find things to hold on to for when we are experiencing those really, really tough times. We need to move past anxiety and depression and all of our other issues and find purpose. And sorry, I'm sniffling now because I was basically crying earlier. Find purpose in life on a good day, because it's going to be harder on a bad day. I mean, God will never leave nor forsake us. That's something to hold on to. God created us to be healthy and to be happy and to be in community with each other. And now in a world where we are basically told we can't be together, find ways to be together, because that's what God intended for us. And he wants us to be healthy. And another thing I'm going to touch on in a future episode, but if you need to go see a doctor and get some medication, do it. Do it. God can use medicine and doctors. There's going to be one more segment on this podcast before I end, but I'm going to have to swap out my battery on my camera because it is flashing at me. So I'm going to end it there. But just remember that I love you guys. God loves you. Your family loves you. You are important. You are needed. You are valued. And I'm actually going to go into a new segment that's, I don't know if it's allowed on podcasts on how it all works, but there's a song that is very, very important to me, and it's been on my mind this week that I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna sing real quick, but I'm gonna swap out the battery on my camera real quick, and then we'll get to that. Okay, real quick before we go into this next segment or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of people who reached out to me and wanted to. There's things that they want to talk about on the podcast. So they're in the future. So this next episode, next week's episode, is I'm going to be addressing all of that, everything that people have reached out to me to talk about. Like I said, I'm going to try and keep these shorter, but there's going to be a series of subscribers' questions and things they want to be brought up. We're having some guests lined up to come on the show, so it's going to be very, very exciting things coming along. So thank you for everyone who's been engaging and watching. So, but not without further ado, I'm going to cut that out. Eric, cut that out. But this song is called "Sea of Victory." It's by Elevation Worship, and it has been extremely important to me. Not necessarily extremely important to me, but this week it's been on my mind, it's been on my heart. So I'm going to share it with you guys today. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, no, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. And my God will never fail. Yeah, my God will never fail. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. And every war he wages, he will win. And I'm not backing down from any giants, 'cause I know how this story ends. I know how this story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. 'Cause I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. No matter what we're going through in our day-to-day, we have to trust in God's promise that we will see victory, because we know how this story ends. It ends with God's victory. We win. Love wins in the end, guys. We just got to push through those darkest moments and remember the promise that God has given us, that He will never leave nor forsake us. And in those moments when we can't feel Him and we don't see His footprints next to us, He is carrying us. And for some of us, there's going to be a lot darker moments, and there's going to be bright moments. But you have to hold on to that promise that if you push just a little bit more through those darkest times, there's going to be beauty, unimaginable beauty on the other side of that. And this is how we fight our battles, guys. If you pray, get on your knees and pray. If you don't pray, I highly recommend it. It's a great place to start. If you don't know how to talk to God, don't know how to talk to Jesus, just talk to Him as if He's your best friend, because He is. And He knows what we're struggling with, and He's there. So I love you guys. Thank you for bearing with me. Sorry for my terrible guitar playing. Like I said, it's like 5 degrees in here, and my hands are icicles. And so anyway, but I love you guys. We'll see you next week.